I used to think that letting God lead me meant I should pray about what I was thinking about doing and then just waiting for an answer. But I learned that's not how it works. The truth is, if you don't take any action, if you don't take the initiative, how can God possibly lead you? I think I mentioned this in one of my previous videos as well. And if you look at it from a practical point of view as well, if you are not walking, how can God possibly lead your steps? Imagine you are sitting down, you have prayed about your situation, you have prayed about the new year, you are asking God for direction, and then you sit down and you wait. How can God lead your steps? I've personally learned that you have to take the initiative, you have to start taking action and ask God to lead you and ask God to guide you. That's when God can really show you what direction to take. I remember a few years ago, I was finishing high school back in Italy and I was thinking about coming to the UK for university. I asked God whether that was in His plan for my life. But while I was waiting for an answer, I also started taking action. I started filling out applications, I started researching different universities here in the UK, and I made my plan. I submitted the applications, even though I hadn't received an answer from God yet. And as I submitted my applications, I told God, if this is in your plan for my life, then allow me to get into one of these universities. If it isn't, then close the door. And so it happened that I got into a few universities and then I moved here. But the key point and the key takeaway I try to remind myself as well is that I asked God for direction, I made my plan, and I asked Him to direct my steps. But now imagine if I had just asked God if coming to the UK for uni was in His plan for my life and then I did nothing about it. Probably I would have missed the application's deadline, I would have missed my chance to come here, and my life would have turned out quite differently. And so I always try to remind myself of this, even to this day when I pray to God and I ask Him for direction in my life. I remind myself that as much as it is our job to ask God for direction and to lead our steps, it is also our job to make a plan and present it to God. So as you are preparing to step into this 2026, maybe instead of just asking God for direction and waiting passively for an answer, make a plan and then ask God to bless it and to lead your steps. Submit your plan fully to God. So when you make that plan, don't become so attached to it that you want to keep control and are not able to let God take the lead. But make your plan and submit it fully to God, asking Him to bless it and asking Him to lead and direct your steps. Asking Him to open the doors where He wants you to go and close the doors to the opportunities that He hasn't prepared for your life yet. There's a verse in Proverbs that says, "Commit your work to the Lord and your plans will be established." It means that it is actually our role, it is our part to make a plan and submit it to God, for Him to bless it, for Him to lead our steps and to direct our path. And there's another verse that says, if we submit in all our ways to Him, He will make our path straight. Meaning that God directs our path, He leads us, but He also needs us to take the initiative to start walking. The truth is that ultimately God is still sovereign over our plans and over our life, but we should still do our part. It is still our job to make a plan for our life, to develop a vision for your life and then submit it to God. And I'm not saying that you have to do this work independently. You can still make a plan or develop your vision with God. It doesn't have to be independent from Him, but it is still something that needs to start from us. I remember when I was growing up, I often heard people saying that they were waiting for an answer from God. But I think a lot of times we overthink this so much. What does it actually mean? Does it mean that you are just going to sit in your house and wait until you hear God's voice telling you exactly what to do? I mean, sometimes it does happen, and it has happened to some people. We can see that in the Bible. But it doesn't necessarily happen like that to everyone, or it doesn't happen like that all the time. I think many times we underestimate the fact that as human beings, as God creatures, we also have our own intellect that He has given us. We have our own intelligence, and we have certain abilities that God has given us. And it is also our job to put those abilities to good use. God wants to be fully involved in our life. He wants to be involved in all aspects of our life, and He wants to lead us and direct our steps. But this is not so that we become marionettes waiting for God to do everything by Himself. It's so that we become active collaborators working with Him to give Him glory in our life. This is something that I mentioned in my last video as well, on what to do when you are waiting on God. And this is very crucial because a lot of times we forget that we have to do our role as God's collaborator. Yes, it's true that in the end, God's will prevail. It's true that His purpose for our life will prevail. There are a few verses that mention this as well. But it is important that we also do our part. We also make an effort to make a plan for our life, to develop a vision for our life that brings God glory, and then submit it to Him fully, releasing control, not becoming attached to that plan in the sense that we feel like everything needs to go exactly how we planned it, but learning to be flexible, learning to accept feedback from God that maybe some of the things we have planned for or that we are envisioning are not exactly the way He envisioned them, or not in the timing we envisioned them. So letting Him lead, but presenting the plan to Him. So if you're struggling to understand what direction God wants you to take in this coming 2026, start auditing your life. Start looking at the things that you are doing that maybe are not that necessary. Start thinking about what ways you can give God glory in your life. Start working on your mindset. Start working on trying to understand what your gift is, what your purpose is, what it is that you can bring to life that can give God glory and be a blessing to other people. And then submit that plan to Him. Ask Him to refine it. Ask Him to give you better wisdom and better understanding, to maybe formulate a better plan or come up with a more refined vision for your life. I've definitely made this mistake as well, of just asking God and waiting for Him to do everything by Himself. But God wants us to work with Him. He doesn't just want to do all of the work for us. It is important that we accept that we also have responsibilities over our life. So many times we fell into the trap of thinking that because God is the one who needs to lead our life and we want to submit it all to Him, that it means it takes away our responsibility for making our own choices. And then if things don't work out the way we thought, we think God made the wrong choice. But obviously that's not how it works, and we have free will. We have the power to make our own choices, and it is very important that we learn what the balance is. The balance is we have the ability, the intelligence to make our own plan, prepare for certain choices, and then submit all of them to God so that He can actually take the lead our steps, direct our path. What I've discovered about life is that the more you do, the easier it becomes to understand what's the right thing for you to do. When I started my journey of trying to understand God's purpose for my life, I used to think that, like I said before, I just had to pray and wait for an answer. But many times that's not how God works. And actually, the only thing that helped me move forward and gain clarity over time was starting to take action. I started to take action on the things that I thought were what God wanted me to do or how He wanted to use me. And then as I was taking action, God started leading my steps. He started making me understand that certain things were the right things, other things were not exactly meant for me. He started teaching me the difference between my passion and my calling. He started teaching me the difference between what encourages me and what I can do to encourage other people. And the thing is that sitting still waiting for an answer is a trap, because then you get stuck into overthinking. You start thinking, oh, but what if I did this and then this happened, or maybe I could do this one and then I could do this as well, but then what if I didn't do this other thing? And we get stuck in a cycle of overthinking, where the easiest thing we could have done was just started taking action and just asking God to lead our steps, asking God for direction. So I know this maybe turned out to be a more philosophical video than I originally anticipated, but I really hope it might have given you a different understanding into how to discover God's direction for your life in this new year, and learning how to balance letting God lead but also doing our part, making the plan. So I really hope this video was useful in some way, and that it could give you the inspiration to start working on a plan, on a vision for the next year that is coming soon, and then also learning to just submit that plan, submit that vision to God fully, letting Him take the lead, letting Him lead your steps. And what I've learned with God is that when we do that, when we make our vision, we make our plan, and then we let Him lead, He does take the lead, and He surprises us with the most incredible things that we would have never maybe anticipated or we would have never hoped for. So I hope you're getting ready to making your plan or your vision for next year. Ask God for inspiration when you're making that plan. Ask Him to show you maybe new things or new opportunities that you haven't seen yet, and then submit it all to Him. Thank you so much again for tuning in today, and I hope to see you on the next one. Bye.